Hi everyone, I just wanted to demonstrate a CUDA application that I've built for one of my final year projects at university. So what this application does is it uses OpenCV to capture an input stream of frames from a webcam, and it applies a Gaussian blur to each image. What I do with this is then compare the speed difference between the GPU and CPU implementations, and then that allows us to sort of get a visual representation of exactly how much faster the GPU is than the CPU. Well, admittedly, this isn't the fairest test, seeing as I only wrote the CPU implementation on a single core. Could have sped it up, but the GPU would still blow out the water. Maybe at a later date I'll do that. But for now, let's run this. So we first asked how many frames we want to process. Let's say we wanted a set of 10, and then we're asked to put in a value for sigma. Well, we should actually say the stencil size. The stencil, what it does is you put in a value like 3, it will then multiply that by 3 again to get a stencil size of 9, and the middle pixel then takes the cumulative average of all of those pixels weightings and then puts it into itself, and that gives it the blurred effect. So once I hit enter, we're going to see a kernel of 9, or a stencil of 9 being applied to an image, and this should give a very sort of light blur. So let's do that now. And we can see on the CPU, the GPU, we have very fast processing times, whereas on the CPU they're slightly slower, but they're still pretty impressive. But the GPU is about 10 times faster, so that's fine. But let's run it again, and let's add a higher value for our stencil. So if anyone downloads this and wants to use it for themselves, please bear in mind that the stencil weighting has to be an odd number, otherwise you'll get an error. I haven't really put many error catching things in here yet, so let's add a number of 9, and you can see the GPU is just blowing the CPU out of the water. It's about 12 times faster. So let's go for one more test, and let's do a set of 3 and a kernel size or weighting of 33. Now, it's a little bit slower on the CPU now, or the GPU now, sorry, but it's significantly slower on the CPU. As you can see, it's going to be about 13 times, 14 times slower than the GPU. Let's just wait for this last frame. And there we go. Yeah, it's about 13 times slower. So that's all the application does. Ignore this frames per second calculation, it's a bit bugged. I haven't amended it.